So, welcome to Playdate 3 of the Golden Rules of Reality. This playdate is to me the most personal playdate, and I suspect it is for many of you as well. It's a question and a topic that I have been not just obsessed with, but it's really what has caused me to keep going, really, with my spiritual quest. And I know for many of you, having spoken with many, this is why people start their own quests, why you specifically may have started your own quest, why you probably here taking this course. So, what is the topic? What's the question? It has to do with purpose. To be specific, what is my purpose, right? Since I can remember, I have been asking that question. I have been asking that question for all sorts of reasons, not the least of which is that I have always felt somewhat disconnected from the world, and I'm not expecting that all of you have been disconnected like I have, but I know that many of you have had this sort of disconnection for a long time, and I know that many of you have struggled to try to connect sort of the dots back to why you're here, what your purpose is, when you feel like you're so detached from things. For you, it may be that finding your purpose is, in a sense, the connection you need to your inner spiritual quest. I know that it is for most people because it gives them a sense of identity and a sense of worth. And right now, at this time, that's something that is lacking in so many places. So here's the tricky thing about purpose. When we look at purpose, we often look at it relative to how other people define our purpose, right? What I mean by that is that we spend most of our lives following dreams or some kind of path, career or personal path that has been really seriously influenced by many of the people and institutions, if you want to call it that, that have influenced our lives. So for most of us, when we look at purpose, we look at it as, what am I doing relative to contributing, let's call it that, to the outside world? What is my purpose relative to my contribution to that? It's a purpose or a question that not only, again, defines some of our worthiness, but it just simply gives us some purpose, if you will, for existing, right? Because in our own natural way, even though we may not always know how to explain it or define it, it's in our nature as spiritual beings to have a purpose. And oftentimes, if not always, that purpose seems to have to do with helping others. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, right? So that's all well and good, and I commend you if you have been doing that in your life. And if you haven't, that's fine too. Because as we're going to see, as we talk about purpose, it goes to areas that we have not been allowed to go to. So again, the fundamental sort of sticking point, if you will, around this topic is that purpose tends to be something that others define for us in many ways. And if they don't define it for us, we seek it out as a way to reconnect ourselves with the world at large. Okay, but again, the sticking point or the tricky thing about this is that it's based on others' expectations, really. And as we've already kind of discussed in the first two rules, you're God, you're the creator. You're the one that this game is attached to. It's for you that this whole entire game has been set up. And I know that for many of you, that may be a little bit difficult to, I guess, put your arms around. But in time, it will settle in. And in time, you will understand that when it comes to purpose, it really has everything to do with you. So let me explain this from the standpoint of more of a macro picture, okay? If you can just go back to rule number 1 for now and view yourself as the divine, as the God, the creator, then look at it from the standpoint of what would be my purpose here? If I'm here in this body, in this avatar, what is it that I'm supposed to do? And if you remember in rule number 1, we explained that you are not just God, but that you are a divine child, and that this is a game. And if we took this a little bit further, what do children love to do? Why do they play games? Because they find a lot of joy in it. They have a lot of fun with it. Okay, so that makes sense. You're a divine child. You love to create games because they make you feel good. They make you happy. Okay, so what specifically makes you happy about this particular game, right? I mean, you go, wait a minute. I don't find anything amusing about this life. This life has been tough. This life, excuse my French, sucks, okay? I get it. I understand. At the 3D level, it's going to feel that way. But at the higher levels of consciousness, you're actually playing this game for a couple reasons. Now, I don't really usually talk about this. Some other spiritual teachers do, but I feel like it's a good place to talk about the reasons why you, the higher you, play games like this. Well, if you understand yourself to be the higher self, then you'll come to realize that the only thing that is important to you in this life, in any life really, is the opportunity to expand and grow. So we have this little play date, all right, that we talk about wordsmithing. But I feel like I have to throw this in right now, okay? Because it's a word that often describes how we go about playing this game, and it really isn't meant to be appropriately used this way. What am I talking about? Learning. Okay, the word learning. We are not here to learn anything. As the divine being that we are, we know everything. We know everything. What we are here to do is experience. Experience new things. New things that happen because we grow. We grow. That's why we do it. And I know at this sort of level of consciousness, it's often hard to appreciate that. But at the macro level, at the higher levels of consciousness, that is exactly why we're playing games like this. Because we love to grow. And this is one of the most amazing games at doing that. Okay, But that's not the only reason why we play this type of game. And remember, this game is an extraordinary game, all right? It's not like many other games. And I'll get back to that in a second, okay? But the other reason why we do this, why we play a game like this, okay, is because we love to experience what we are not. And remember, one of the pieces of rule number 2 was contrast. The contrast, the subtle contrast, and the not so subtle contrast, right? Here, we're talking about how contrast, what we are not, okay, is something that we don't have the experience to experience in the worlds that we come from.